Welcome back, Daydreamer, and today, it's story time. Ragtag Daydreams is sponsored by NewTypeHQ.com. Long ago, there was a boy. It was the 90s. Gundam Wing was on Toonami. The sacred texts of that anime show led him to desire gunpla. Okay, but in all reality, yeah, that's where it started for me. It was Toonami. And it's grown a lot since then because you're watching this. So, a couple of things I do want to shout out. We are going to get into the razor saw today, which is the saw that I've been kind of showing. Hey, we're going to use this. I'm going to show you, how easy it is to use something like this. We'll get into that, but first and foremost, I just want to give a little bit of story time and a shout out of sorts. I have some really good friends, and those really good friends have just gone through a pretty traumatic experience. No, it wasn't the COVID-19 or whatever. No, it wasn't anything like that. But my friends, the wife, the couple that they are, the wife, her father passed away. I don't deal with death like most people do, and I can come off as cold, but I really do feel for her, and my heart goes out to her, and then of course to him as well, because they're married, so they're one unit kind of thing. But what he had left behind was a room full of old military models, and a lot of them. Now, I'm not a military model guy. He had his own little group and friends and whatnot that, they came over and they got what they want. Whatever. I know they're going to do something with them along with that, giving them, to whoever. Mainly, it was planes and subs and ships. So it didn't have to be from like one era either. It was from all these different wars, all this different time frame, all these different countries. And the reason that I want to say this, and the reason that I want to shout this out, they were extremely kind to let me come over and look at some of the things they had on his table where he was working on, and different tools and things like that. I got some scissors. I got some Mr. Hobby products. I am very thankful to have anything like that at all. But I'm even more thankful that they thought of me, because that was a dear loved one. I know one of my friends watches my videos whenever he gets a chance. Thank you again. Thank you very much for thinking of me and for allowing me to, just make use of some of those things that he left behind. I really, really appreciate it. But to everyone else, there's more to this story time. This guy, and I found myself, I get chills thinking about it. This is just really, really cool to me. He would build these model kits of military vehicles. I think it was mainly planes. He would then customize them to look as absolutely scaled down, realistic as possible. Then he would take photographs of these extremely well-made kits, okay? Just tons and tons and tons of time spent on them. Meticulous detail. Then he would find whatever war hero or survival of what battle that piloted this machine, if they were still alive, that is, of course. He would find them, and if they were at a historic modeling convention of some sort, or gathering, or whatever, however he could, he would find this person and travel and meet them and have them sign that photo. And let me tell you what, guys, there were shoeboxes of photos right next to his desk. I didn't look through them. It wasn't my place to do so, but that's inspiring, really. As a modeler, that is very, very, very inspiring. I wanted to share that with everyone who watches these videos, because that's, I don't know, I'm really blown away at the effort and the detail that this fellow went into to do all of this, just to show this person, hey, I care enough about your story that I'd like to show you, how much time and effort that I put in to just uh, this thing that captures this moment in time. And thanks for being a soldier or an airman or what have you, a sailor. I got a whole box of stuff, so I am honored to use that. Yeah. Moving on, let's show you guys how you can use a razor saw in your toolbox if you customize Gunpla. As promised, let's break out the razor saw. So, this diorama, if you've watched the previous episodes, especially I think the first episode, I showed that I kind of wanted this shooting at this figure, the Zagok, shooting at this figure. So, what I really want to do is kind of cut him basically in half. And then from that's where we will we'll insert the laser beam, slicing him and make that effect. So yeah, let's see what happens. We're going to take another spot right here and kind of make just a V out of this because I don't want him cut all the way through, just for my own sanity's sake in wiring lights or whatever. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's fairly clean for what we were doing there. Yeah. Lots of dust left behind, but if you'll see this, after I build this up with some, probably, might even go with some, I don't know, might do some epoxy buildup, might do some kind of hot glue thing, but basically just make it look bulbous and melt it away. Once that happens, heck, I might even just melt it. I think that'll be a good spot to put the laser going through him, and then we'll be good to go. I'll take this little bit off right here. So if you ever want to do some larger modifications to these kits, like cutting pieces off and things like that, as you can tell, this is still pretty strong, and there's not a lot of this waist section remaining. Everything stayed together. I mean, it's pretty good. I don't mind that this is a little mutilated and got caught by the saw, because I'll have that down and it will look appropriate, and that's going to leave plenty of room to do my modifications. So where a razor saw, this is what I call it. I'm actually not 100% if it's just called a hobby saw or what, but I learned this type of saw in woodworking, and in woodworking this is a razor saw. They are extremely high detail kind of tool, because the kerf, or the thickness of the blade, is very slim. So you can do very fine detail work, and you won't have to worry too much about just basically doing the math to make up for the space that the blade is going to actually chew away, plus whatever material you want to remove. So yeah, it can be a really cool tool in that, especially when you're doing joinery, hand-cut joinery and things like that. A razor saw can be very cool in woodworking. And then with kits, if let's say you wanted to extend a limb, you could saw right through that limb, add your plow plate, build it up, glue it back together, and then sand it flush all the way around, and you've now extended the limbs. It doesn't have to be a leg, it could be an arm or whatever, for one of your kits. So keep that in mind. That's your tip of the day. And as you can see, it's just that easy. It's wild how easy it is to do these cuts, and it's extremely accurate. I mean, I don't know, the backer on the back of the saw, if you saw that it looked like a little piece of folded metal on the back. That's a back plate, and it keeps the saw extremely straight. The kerf, as I explained, is how thin of a bite that saw blade takes out of the material. So you're working with something that takes a very narrow section away in order to make the cut. It is very strong and stays very straight because it has a reinforced little like backbone, okay? This is a really cool tool if you plan on doing large, I would consider that large scale customizations, where you're cutting one piece off and adding something else and that kind of thing. If it's just, cutting off maybe the ball joint that a thruster goes on to put on a metal thruster, something like that, you're going to pin it. This tool may not be necessary, but trust me, if you decide to get one, or if you find one for kind of cheap and it's of course a decent quality tool, you'll thank me later because they are a joy to use. They cut right through, and I mean you can do it all at your bench. You don't need like a scroll saw or something in your shop. Now, finally, I told you guys that I was going to be story timing a lot. Here's another little kind of mini story. This is what you get whenever you have a friend who has a 3D printer and they're bored and they don't have anything to 3D print, but they have tons of filament and they're willing to try. So I have a 3D printed bust of the Granddaddy Gundam now that I have to clean up quite a lot of, actually. Because it's filament 3D printed, it's not resin printed or something like that. So it's going to take a lot of sanding and it's going to take some extra work. I don't mind that. I'm flat out giddy over this. This is going to be a crazy cool project, and it might be the subject of some extra videos like Whip Wednesdays coming back or something like that. Just hanging out and doing stuff like this. Might turn it into a stream because I think that would be maybe a little more. I don't know. It just seems to fit more than that. More to come on that, okay? If you're new here, or if you just haven't seen a lot of my videos, feel free to check out these up here, and that's going to give you kind of a good, place to start with more instruction in my videos instead of just the talking head sequences. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, Daydreamer, I'm Justin, your ragtag Daydreamer, and I'll see you soon.